Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakken van Jan.
Nebbig.
Verpoepoepoe.
Vermischt.
Verkakt.
Vertutst.
Verstonken.
Farted.
Exactly.
You what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
And we're off.
Okay, here we go.
Episode 56 of American Jew coming at you.
Wow, 56.
Yeah, it's our first post-Torah portion episode.
Okay, yeah, we've talked about every week's Torah portion, so we're going to try some different stuff this week.
Unfortunately, we are going to talk about some anti-Semitism that's happening in the world.
Yeah, anti-Semitism is still happening. We might be stopping with the Torah portion, but we're not stopping talking about anti-Semitism that's happening everywhere. And there was the Belgian parade that we talked about last year. It happened again this year.
Yes, and they're like doubling down. They got their World Heritage event status revoked.
But I heard the mayor, he preemptively got it withdrawn because he knew that they were going to revoke it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
You can't fire me, I quit kind of thing?
They pulled that move because they wanted to keep it anti-Semitic. What I think is crazy, first of all, it's like Aalst, I think that's the name of the place. It's 10 miles away from Brussels in Belgium, where this parade's going on. And it's been going on for years and years. So we've only known about it being anti-Semitic for the last 2 years, but we got to think it's been anti-Semitic forever. People are just now discovering that it's anti-Semitic. Or is it anti-Semitic, though? Because they're saying they're not being anti-Semitic. They're saying they're being satirical. And in the context of the parade, it's not about hate.
Let's actually explain what the fuck we're talking about for a second here. If you haven't been listening, there's a parade in Belgium where they have caricatures of Jewish figures with the payas and the big Jewish hats and giant noses, holding bags of money.
That was last year.
That was last year.
They said they recycled these other props they had, this carnival troupe. It's like a carnival thing that they have there, and they recycled it, and they were making a joke about Sabbath. I don't know. They think it's hilarious, and they're being satirical.
They're saying that it's a commentary on the disparity of the cost of living.
I don't know. This year they had Jews with like ant bodies, and they had like a wailing wall with like caricatures again of like Jews, and saying different things about like you'd be pissed off too if you got part of your penis cut off, and there were just like other people dressed up around like Hasidic Jews. There was one person, I guess, that was dressed up as a Hasidic Jew, and he had like troll feet. And they're all saying this isn't anti-Semitic. Of course, the media's now got its attention. It's going crazy on it. The people, celebrities, I guess, that were supposed to like appear in it backed out because they think it's anti-Semitic. Israel wants them to get rid of the whole parade, but again, they're saying like, no, we're just doing this for fun. Like it's just satirical. Like it's not hate.
Well, I mean,
but I think whether it's hate or not, it propagates hate.
I don't know how many people have to tell you that what you're doing is offensive and wrong for you to take that into consideration. At least, I mean,
that is true.
Just argue, be like, no, it's not offensive to you. You're not offended. You shouldn't be offended.
Well, I guess they're saying it's not. Yeah, it's not meant to be offensive.
Right.
And then apparently in Spain, there also was recently just a little parade too that was about the Holocaust.
Yeah, they had people dressed as Nazis and people dressed as Jewish concentration camp.
It's crazy, and they had like people like having like stacks of smoke.
They called them Jewish pajamas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That just happened in Spain, and they said they were just doing a performance piece that they thought they were paying a tribute to the Jewish people, but now they realize that it was in bad taste, and they won't be doing that again. Unlike the Belgian people that are like, this is our deal. We got to go. I want to go next year to this Belgium carnival. It's a 3-day event. And this is, I guess these happen at one of them, but like, I guess people are dressing up like Jews in all of them, but sometimes all the men dress up as women. It's called the Parade of the Dirty Sissies.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like a very great party to me.
That's
actually.
one of the things that they do. They all dress up because they didn't have enough money for costumes, so they just wore like the women's clothing. It's crazy that this carnival is still happening, and I wonder what they're going to do next year. I really loved Belgium. I'm very upset. I'm very disappointed in my Belgium.
I wonder how we would stop something like this, short of creating a golem to fight the injustices.
Hey.
How do you like that for a segue?
Yeah, I mean, the golem it's Jewish mysticism. It's Jewish folklore. It involves the Kabbalah. Almost everything you could say the Bible, the whole thing you could almost say is like Jewish folklore. But they're stepping it up even like more because like the golem isn't in the Bible.
Right. The golem didn't really appear until like the Middle Ages.
But it's in like the Talmud.
Yeah.
They talk about it, and I guess they talk about it, and it happened, like, they use this thing called, like, the Book of Creation to make it when the Jews were in hardship. There's a lot of, different stories about it.
Yeah, the origin story is not exactly clear.
No, but they do say that that in Prague is one of the cases that it happened to this guy, Rabbi Judah Loew was his name, of Prague, and this was in, like, 1525. This is when this guy was born or something.
Now, so what is a golem? They say it's made of clay.
It's made of clay
and
of earth, and it has the word emet, which means truth, written on its head. And apparently, if you take the first letter of the alphabet, the aleph, off, and then just says met, which means death, and that's how you like disable it. It's kind of like a Frankenstein kind of thing, like they create it to help, and then it ends up like wreaking havoc. Either it gets too big, it eats too much, it gets out of control. One of the stories is it fell in love with somebody. There's different stories of like, this is almost how man was created, but then God gave us more of a soul.
You like write a prayer and put it in its mouth, and it's supposed to do your bidding.
Okay, I guess that's one of the stories that they have that it'll do that. I mean, this has been depicted in a lot of television shows and in books, movies, and comic books. It was in an episode of The X-Files. It was in an episode of the show, the cartoon Gargoyles.
It's in an episode of The Simpsons.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah,
they make a Marge Plato one, right?
No. They make a golem. They make an actual golem, and it's Richard Lewis is the voice.
The voice.
He like coughs up all these old scrolls. He's like, ugh. Kill the Tsar. Ooh, that's an old one. And they make a second one
Fran Drescher,
for him with Fran Drescher,
a woman one.
Yes.
Okay. So it's all over. So this is cool. So we need the golem. I mean, I think that's cool that he is almost like a Jewish superhero, like the Thing from Fantastic Four or something like that. I don't know, Clayface.
There are actual depictions of golems in the Marvel universe. I mean, they've put them. There are some comic books that have the golem in them as well.
I mean, golems. Apparently, the last time it broke. They took the name off, and they put the pieces in this place. It's called the Old New Synagogue. It's in Prague. It's one of Europe's oldest active synagogues. It was built in 1270. They've went in there, and they say, we didn't find any golem pieces. It's kind of like a Loch Ness Monster type situation. But I was in Prague, and they have like golem places, almost, like, hey, it's the golem restaurant. But I think that's cool that Jews have something like that.
Yeah, so we got our very own swamp thing.
Oh, it almost is.
Yeah,
it's a clay mud thing.
Yeah,
and it has to do with with Kabbalah, I guess, the Jewish mysticism, the mystic arts. I guess it's as real to me as the story of the burning bush or any of the Moses stuff. You know?
If you're like one of the people that the golem is being sent after, it's a monster. So it could be like, the chupacabra, like the Jucapabra cabra.
Jucacabra?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming to get you.
Yeah.
Usually it wants to help the Jews. The Jews need his help. It's going to help save the Jews always. What I think was interesting is when I was reading about this, I found out that, abracadabra?
Yeah, the phrase?
Yeah, abracadabra. It comes from ancient Hebrew.
Oh, really?
From avra kadavra, which means I create as I speak. And I also thought that was interesting I know you watched the whole series of the show, Hunters, the Amazon show about them hunting
down Nazis that are living in Americas in 1979.
I only watched the first episode, but in the first episode, Al Pacino's character quotes the Talmud a lot with, saying the living well is the best revenge, and that is like a phrase that people of all religions use. So it was interesting to me that they were putting such emphasis that it comes from the Talmud. This is like a Jewish phrase.
Well, he amends that statement later in the season. He says, "You know what the best revenge is? Revenge.
Okay. I guess that can be true, but they say living well is also the best revenge.
That's the thing.
People are finding any reasons to hate the Jews.
I think that there's always so much, misinformation. Even with the whole Kabbalah stuff, all that stuff is highly contested. I feel like there's still debates going on about what a lot of this means, whether or not, as we've already said, the Golem has all these different origin stories. Nobody can totally agree on what,
Well, no, the one in Prague, that's like the most famous, but they're saying that there was other golems like in history that like happened.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's no definitive answer to a lot of this stuff.
No, it isn't.
Which is part of why I think maybe the Jews are so hated, because we're so insistent on a thing being a truth, but we don't even agree upon it.
Okay, yeah, that could be one of the reasons.
I feel like one of the things that I really want to talk about on this show moving forward is to as we start having guests, is get a sense of what it means to be a Jewish American, what it means to be Jewish, how much is your being Jewish part of your identity, and how much anti-Semitism do we really feel in our lives?
I mean, I don't feel a lot of anti-Semitism at all.
I'm born and raised in New York City, and you're born and raised in Florida, which is basically arguably the two largest enclaves of Jews in America.
Okay,
Florida and New York is where all the Jews are.
A lot of Jews in Florida and New York. We are both Jews.
So there's less overt anti-Semitism that we might have had experience with.
Well, sometimes I hear it. I was out with a girl the other day, and she said something like, "Oh, my ex-husband got mad at me because I told him he was a real Jew with money or something." And I was like, yeah, that's kind of anti-Semitic.
I don't know. I feel like there are some people out there that are anti-Semitic purely for the jokes.
People are anti-Semitic for a lot of different reasons. The bad, like we've always talked about, stuff to do with Israel. But you know what? These are some things that I found that people are accusing the Jews of. There's a conspiracy of somebody whose outlet is called True News. This guy thinks that we're Jews are the reason why there are transgender people.
Okay.
Louis Farrakhan.
Okay.
He has claimed that Jews are, quote, turning men into women and women into men. They're using like a specially concocted strain of marijuana to make black men gay and effeminate. Jews are making special weed to make black people effeminate and gay. How crazy is that? Well, talk about a crazy Jewish conspiracy right there.
Yeah, well, Farrakhan is not exactly known for his middle-of-the-road type of statements.
Oh. What would you call this strain of marijuana that makes black people gay that the Jews are making?
Man, what would you call it?
I don't know. It definitely sounds not kosher to me, this weed.
I don't know. It sounds like it would have a lot of crystals, though.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Be covered in crystals. Have a lot
of bling and be shiny?
Oh, yeah. Very blingy. I would smoke it.
I mean, people are thinking that Zionists want to make all of humanity androgynous. I mean, some of the anti-Semitic stuff that Jews get, it comes directly from Christianity. I mean, Christians aren't very big fans of gay people, but I don't know why they would say that the Jews are making them. We're making transgenders by putting stuff in food, or we're making black guys effeminate by putting special weed for them that makes them gay. It's ridiculous.
Farrakhan, I think Farrakhan is a Muslim.
Christianity is the reason why there is a bunch of Christians thought about the blood libel, that Jews were killing Christian babies and making matzah out of their blood, or doing ceremonies with their blood. Of course, the whole thing with Jesus, that the Jews were involved in the death of Jesus, that's a huge source of anti-Semitism. That probably isn't true. The church has said, hey, that's not true. The Jews weren't involved, but it's still something that's been kept going down from generation to generation, and people still think about it. And also, Christians, they weren't allowed people to, when they were lending money, to charge interest. So that became one of the few jobs they let the Jews do. And then that became like kind of an anti-Semitic trope too, that Jews are money controlling and money grubbing all this frugal, and it's all because, well, no, those were the only jobs that we were allowed to do with the money. It's like, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Another thing that I was reading up on, I was reading about all the different things that people hate us for or accuse us for, different conspiracies that people have.
It's a lot of projection, I feel like. People are just like, they want to be able to be angry for things going wrong in their lives, and the Jews are an easy scapegoat.
It's crazy. It's crazy that people want to say that the Holocaust was made up. That's a big thing with anti-Semitism, that people want to say that we made up the Holocaust because we wanted to get Israel, and we wanted like the world to be sympathetic towards us. So now like everyone feels bad for the Jews. Like, I don't know, like it's some grand plot. If we were guilty of all the things that people have like accusing us of doing, like that would be insane. We would be more evil than like the Legion of Doom.
Mm-hmm, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I look at some of the ways that we, judge each other. Like there's a lot of Jew on Jew hatred, or at least judgment, from the people that are like ultra religious. I know that I've felt judged by people that were more religious than me. Like when I dated a black girl, I had Jews approach me and be like, "You should dump her and get yourself a nice Jewish girk," on more than one occasion.
It's not very nice.
And
a lot of people say that. Yeah, well, they want the tribe to continue. But even if a Jewish woman has sex with a non-Jewish guy, the baby would still be Jewish anyways.
I mean, yeah, according to them.
Us guys really got the short end of that stick. I'll tell you that much.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, about how we're much more secular. Like we connect to the cultural touch points, to the meals, particularly the ways that we
feel like we're really into the meals. But just like we are Jewish, we're familiar, and me and my Jewish friends were more on the same page with certain things than like me and my non-Jewish friends. I guess like we just have different priorities, or we care more about different things, or the way we were raised.
The meal is so important because it's what brings everybody together, puts everybody at the same table.
Right.
Complaining about the same stuff.
Hopefully not the food.
Right, exactly. Usually at my table, if it wasn't salty enough or it was too salty, there was
Your
always
table is just the housekeeper fighting with her daughter.
The one time.
All it took was one time to be a classic.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what, who knows what's going to happen. But now we got this coronavirus, if it's going to spread everywhere. By the way, who came up with this name, coronavirus?
It wasn't the people at Corona.
I know. It wasn't the people at like Modelo.
Oh, you think it was maybe Modelo? Yeah.
Like, we're going to screw them over.
Yeah.
But,
it could have been the people from the Hebrew. It's a Jewish conspiracy.
That's what people are going to say, to get people to stop going to Mexico and go to Israel instead. The beaches are much nicer in Eilat than they are in Tulum.
In the face of all this anti-Semitism, though, how much do you identify as a Jew? Like, how important is being Jewish a part of your identity?
I mean, I think it's a big part of my identity, I was raised a certain way, pretty Jewish. I'm a little Jewy. I don't know how to say it any other way, but, like, it's true. Like, I am. The holidays and all this stuff, it's, like, not important to me religiously at all, but I guess I do like a sense of family or community or something like that, like friends that like be experiencing that at that time. I think that is nice. I'm all about any type of Jewish food. I went to Pastrami Queen yesterday. It was delicious.
I saw that.
I love that.
Got
Amazing.
yourself some matzo ball soup.
Matzo ball soup, a little pastrami sandwich, and
Giddy up.
But I don't know. I hope people stop hating Jews. I hope Israel starts acting nicer. I hope Bernie Sanders becomes president. We have a Jewish president. Like, that would be pretty dope. Because he's like such a cultural Jew too, that I think he'd do something good for Judaism.
You can follow us on all social media platforms at American Jew Podcast, except on Twitter, we're American Jew Pod. Send us a message at AmericanJewPodcast@gmail.com.
Follow me on Instagram at Jonathan Randall. Why haven't you already followed me? I can't believe it. What's wrong with you?
Ashanda that you haven't done so. And I am at Beatnik Nutnik. Thank you guys for listening. We are cavelling.